Hello and welcome to Traditional Stitches FlossTube video number 6. I'm Janice, the owner of Traditional Stitches, and with me today is Rose Heck, the leader of our Ann Morison Stitch Along on Facebook.
Hi everybody.
So we're recording on Thursday, April the 1st, before Easter, and we're going to publish the video on the evening of April the 4th. And what are you up to this weekend, Rose?
We're going camping, Janice. And your first response, I think, was burr.
Yes. We're, for those of you that are just joining us, we're located in the southern part of the province of Alberta in Canada. So the idea of going camping at the first part of April is a little bit daunting.
Well, it is, especially when Sunday night we were met with the blizzard and we got about 3 or 4 inches of snow. And the weather, the temperatures plummeted. So, there goes my dog, sorry. But it has been in the plus temperatures and we're gonna go for it. We're gonna go on the edge of the mountains and probably crank up the heat and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Otherwise, I guess we'll freeze. So we're looking forward to it. So what are you doing?
Shipping this weekend. Yes, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Good job.
All right. So we have a lot of things to cover today, where it feels like in some ways that this month has gone by so quickly, but there's so much that happened that we've got a lot of topics to cover. So I have my notes and we'll just go from top to bottom here.
Sounds good.
So the first thing that happened at the beginning of March after our last video was the Needlework Expo. And it was really different for me after having gone to the Nashville Needlework Market for so many years to do it this way. But I'm so proud of how everybody came together to make something happen for us. So it was really, really nice to have some video chats with some of the designers. And every evening I got together virtually with my shop owner friends and just caught up, and what a treat that was.
Yeah. Was it 3 days that you were doing these video chats?
Yes, we tried.
Wow.
Technology wasn't always on our side, but it was really good to have some visits. I talked to the folks by video from Fox and Rabbit down in Australia. Yeah. So that was really good to just so fortunate to have the technology that can bring us together during these times.
Yeah, I did a little bit of reading on Brenda and Karen, and they were getting up, was it really early or going really late? Because they're 12, 14 hours ahead.
Yeah. So
that's dedication when you had to be up in the middle of the night and probably sleep in the day.
Yeah.
So.
So yeah, it was really fun to touch base with everybody, and we are all certainly looking forward to being able to do Nashville in person next year. So.
Oh, I bet.
So did you watch the Expo releases, Rose? Did you have some favorites?
I did. I was watching with great anticipation, and in my head I was going, yeah, I like that one. Yeah, oh, I like that one. Yeah, I like that one. And when we were talking earlier, you had mentioned just figure out some of your favorites. And it's really hard to say I have only 1 or 2 favorites because, but if I have to narrow it down to 1, let me find it on my phone. Actually, maybe 2. The first one is from Shakespeare's Peddler. And it's one of her ragamuffins. And I'll show it on my phone. I don't know if that's going to show.
We can insert a picture and a link as well. Oh, pretty.
I love this one. I love that oak leaf, and I call it a candle flower border. And here is the thing about this piece. I've seen it on 2 other samplers. One is an out of print, well, I think it's an out of print sampler from Needlework Press called Mary McAllister. You're gonna laugh, this is a microfiber cloth.
Yeah.
But that's her. That's
Yeah.
all I have to that one. And the other one was a piece that was reproduced by Leanne Van Leyen in Piecework magazine. And
Fellow
it has,
Canadian.
yes, and it's a small, I have it here, I won't bother it, but it has that same oak leaf and candleflower border. And it's spectacular. I just love it. So I might have to get that one. I don't know, no plans to stitch it soon. And the other one, which is not a reproduction, and it surprises me that, you know, I would say that I don't know, there's something about it. It's done by Hello from Liz Matthews, and it's her Gather Here with Grateful Hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's charming.
Well, it's reminiscent of the woodcut designs.
That's what it is.
The model that we have in the shop that is one of my favorites is Mermaid's Folly, the one from the Courtney collection that is there. And I would love to get my hands on more of those kinds of designs that have the relief to them. And I'll put in a picture of that here and link it below as well so everybody can see what we're talking about. But that design from Liz Matthews was definitely very popular in the shop for sure.
So what were some of your favorites?
Well, I think my favorite, and the first one that I'm going to put needle and thread to, is the Sarah Jackson sampler from Scarlett House. And it is done on the gray linen dolphin, I think. And
Yes.
So it just gives such a really interesting contrast between the thread colors and this different reproduction sampler background fabric. So I'll definitely be showing that off. We have ordered and reordered from these designers, so I don't actually have something physical to show you, but I will definitely be featuring that one as we have things to show. Yeah, that was popular. Probably one of the most, well, the most popular design for the Needlework Expo was the Hannah Ann Wallace sampler from Brenda Gervais. And that was the top one. And then the second most popular one was the Tudor Bee sampler from Blue Flower. Or Tudor Bee, it's not a sampler, it's a pin cushion. And again, it's totally sold out, so I don't have anything to show you. Next time.
Did you find that people leaned more towards larger pieces or the smaller? Or was it half and half?
There wasn't any real trend this time, I don't think.
Oh, wasn't there?
No, I wouldn't say that there was. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it was all over.
We had 12 packages, I think, arrive in the shop this morning while I was there. So it'll be a little bit like Christmas when I get back. The thing that's keeping me busy and that we'll be working on this weekend is our Blackbird Designs anniversary sampler. So we broke it up into batches of shipping because of our suppliers are just so challenged during these times that was what made sense for what they could do and also what's doable for us in the shop. Every order needs fabric cut, thread kits made, shipping labels done, packing and sealing and all that kind of stuff. So it does take time. So as promised, we did start that process this week and made a good start, but it'll take us a few weeks to work through all of the first batch and then we'll go straight into the second batch.
How many batches?
We're currently accepting orders for batch number 4, and those should be shipping in July. But again, supply dependent.
Right.
So now I'm going to show it to you. So the charts came from Barb and Alma at Blackbird Designs, and the cover looks like this. And then just another shot of it on the back as well. And they had some really nice words to say inside the chart. These words remind me of Janice, the owner of Traditional Stitches in Calgary. I think of the 20 years she spent sharing her love of stitching with her customers and her friends. Surely her love of needlework will be her legacy.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thrilled and surprised to see that inside the leaflet when we received them.
Oh, you didn't know?
No,
Oh,
I didn't.
what a nice dedication.
Yeah, lovely. So in our last video, I showed you my stitched version of the sampler, and I stitched mine on 40 count weeks dye works, straws, Weigart base, using hand dyed cottons, and they're a combination from Gentle Art, Classic Color Works, and Weeks Dye Works. And so I will show you that again here. Now, we were talking before we started recording that the straw linen is really hard to photograph and to get a really good color sense of. So hopefully between everything that I'm going to show you today, you can kind of average out in your mind what the color actually shows up as. It's beautiful. And I can tell you because I have cut dozens and dozens of yards of fabric in the last week for these kits, so I'm very familiar with the color. So, we are also, this is the part that I'm really excited about. We partnered with our friend Amy Minton of Fibers to Die For to do a silk thread conversion for our Blackbird What Remains sampler. And Kathleen, who is the office manager in our shop, stitched a model on 36 count with Amy's silks. And so this is its very first debut on FlossTube. So there it is.
There we go.
Isn't that beautiful? So now I'm going to try and hold them up together just to see. I don't know how the camera is going to react to contrasting, but let's just see what we can do here.
Okay.
Oh, ring light. So they are on exactly the same color of fabric.
Yeah.
And just a little bit difference in tone.
Yeah, just a little bit. The glasses, it's hard to tell the tone on that a bit, but it is pretty close.
So I have some other things that I want to show and share with you. And then Rose, you and I are going to talk about stitching with Amy's threads a little bit because you have lots of experience doing that. So you'll be able to help
a little
me
bit,
share
not
some.
as much as you.
So this is, and this might, this is going to be interesting, wrinkle, wrinkle. These are the fabrics for a Blackbird sampler. So this way, the 28, the 32, the 36, and the 40 count. So and the dye lots all turned out really similar.
The one, your last one, the 40 count, maybe it was the furthest away. That was the one that was the truest. Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, so it's beautiful, beautiful sampler color. And of course, we got all of the linen on this Weigart base. So I was really happy that Weeks Dye Works was able to do that for us. They have shipped us boxes and boxes of linen. So we're just keep waiting and cutting our way through it as they arrive.
Cool.
And then I'm going to show you the threads, the cotton threads first. So this is the color palette, Weeks Classic and Gentle Art that I stitched my model in.
Okay.
Okay. And then this is Amy's color palette. So now I'm going to tell a story on Amy. She's actually going to join us in a video down the road to talk a little bit about her silk threads, but I'm going to tell a story on her. So
does she watch these videos?
I'm going to find out really quick. So Amy has been really active in the Calgary quilting, rug hooking, stitching needlework community of all sorts for a very long time. She came to it really young and just enjoyed the social aspects of it. So she was at a quilt group meeting years ago and had a new member come and was getting introduced around, and somebody introduced her as, and she was showing a quilt. And her colors were a little bit muted and a little bit pastel. And so the lady who was introducing her said, and this is Amy Mitten, and she's dull and not very bright. So that was talking about her color palette. And I remember in the shop when we first started off in her threads, we had people who would complain about the antique patina of her threads, and they just are a little bit softer and a little bit more muted. And so you might have to cut that part out.
No, I think it's perfect. We'll wing it like that.
Yeah, so I'll get her to tell her version of the story, but anyways, so here they are again.
They are beautiful.
Yes, they are lovely. And Kathleen loved stitching the model, really enjoyed it. And so now I have to take that to our framer and get it framed so it can hang next to mine in the shop.
There we go.
So Amy's threads, and I talked about this in the last video, but they're a little bit different than what we're used to from the stranded cotton in that you use it as it comes. You don't break it down. It's single strand. So if you've used pearl cotton, kind of think about that, except it's finer than that. So you just use it as it comes off of the skein. So one of the questions that we've had through the course of this process is coverage. So lots of people like more coverage, and we really wanted to make this sampler accessible to people who were maybe just getting into stitching or wanted to make the adventure into stitching on Aida. And so we offered kits in 28 count and 32 count. And so coverage was an issue. So Kathleen, who stitched the model, did a couple of samples here, and I'm going to try and show them just for people's information on the different counts of linen. So this is 32 count linen, and the band at the very top, this band, the top one, is coverage of one strand of Amy's thread on 32 count. And then the next one, the one below, is 2 strands in Kathleen's needle on 32 count. And so we hadn't really done that before with Amy's threads, and we were interested to see how it worked. And Kathleen said it was beautiful to do it with 2 strands in her needle as well.
It is such a smooth, soft silk. Really, the only way I can describe it is stitching with butter. And it flows so nicely. If you haven't tried it, for anybody that's watching this, go out and try it.
Mm-hmm.
Get something with it and you'll never go wrong.
Yeah, so we invite you to try it on our Blackbird Designs sampler, or we do offer loose skeins on our website, or also lots of Amy's kits. She is definitely one of the designers that I've stitched the most models of in the walls in the shop, so we have lots of experience with it. And then I also just wanted to show the coverage with 1 strand and 2 strands on 28 count. So the top shows single strand, and then the bottom shows double strand. So you can see that the single strand is adequate coverage, but if you're a person who likes more coverage, then go ahead and use 2 strands in your needle.
It looks a little bit like what you would want for a primitive type. And it still is a decent coverage, but it'll give you that more prim antique look if that's what you're going for on 28.
Right. Yeah, beautiful. Almost makes me want to stitch the design a second time.
Yeah,
so that I can do a model with Amy silk. Yeah. So it wasn't very long into the ordering process of the Blackbird Designs. So through our website, the orders coming in, that I saw an order come in from you. And your comment in your order was, resistance is futile.
Oh, I forgot about that. You know, and I mean, it's Blackbird Designs. So, you know, those are one of those top designers that you say, you know, I'll just get because it's Blackbird.
Buy all the
But
Blackbird.
when you exactly, when you pair it with Amy's silks, and I'm a newbie to her silks compared to you, Janice, but the pieces that I've done, and I'm doing one right now, every time I sit down, it's my evening stitch. I just sigh and I go, oh, I love this silk. And it is so nice to stitch. So I knew that the pairing was perfect. So well done.
Thank you. We've been really excited at the reception that Amy's silks have had. So I was texting with her the other night and she was talking about how sore her hands were from making thread cards. So I feel a little bit bad about that. And yeah.
Sorry,
fun.
not sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So each of the design from Blackbird comes with the list of the hand-dyed cotton threads that are used. And then in each of the packs of thread for Amy's silk, we have a little conversion list that we include in the bag so that everybody knows which is which. And, oh, one more thing I want to show you about our sampler. So nobody has seen this yet because we didn't have photos to put on our website. And I can't tell you how many people have just jumped down the hole with us sight unseen, but I'm going to show you now our thread ring. So LaDonna at Samplings of Memories made us custom thread rings to go with our sampler. So, let's see, oh, look at my handshake. I can stitch and hold a needle without my hand shaking, but to try to show something, it doesn't work. So,
nice.
I'm just going to pop it off. Card. So, this is it off the card, and it includes a peacock charm to go with the beautiful peacock that is featured on our sampler.
You know, yeah. I just realized it has a peacock on it.
Yeah.
I was so, the red flower tends to draw you in. And it's one of those pieces that I didn't catch the peacock. I love that.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite parts to stitch. Yeah, so yeah. So
cool.
So we're very grateful to LaDonna for producing these for us, custom made. And yeah, so they're part of our set.
Nice.
Yeah. So if you have any questions about our Blackbird sampler, send us an email or drop a comment below. Like I said, we're just working with our suppliers to make everybody's life not too crazy, not too much pressure, and shipping out as we can as the supplies are available. So it's going to take us a little while, but everybody will get to enjoy it. So we're looking forward to seeing that. So then, moving right along to Hands Across the Sea Samplers and Anne Morison. I did want to show you, in our last video, I had my question and answer session with Nicola, and I was showing off the fact that I've got a couple of her stitched models here with me that will be moving to the shop when we open back up after all this craziness is over. And she said, oh, but where's Sally? So we have Sally back from the framer now, so I'm going to show you her. We didn't get anti-reflective glass in this one though, so hopefully it shows up. So this is the Hands Across the Sea Sally Stansfield reproduction sampler. And it's going to have a place of pride in our shop till we need to give it back to Nicola, but I wanted to make sure to show that off to everybody. And then that brings me to just a little bit of a mention about our next Hands Across the Sea exclusive sampler. So we've been sharing the pictures with Rose, and she's agreed to be our stitch along leader for the next one. And you
might as well.
All in, right? All in. Yeah. So you've been playing around a little bit with the layout for the stitch along and giving that some thought. So our plan is to show it off and give you guys all the details in our next FlossTube video at the beginning of May.
Okay, that gives me a a deadline to get the layout.
All right. So the one more thing I want to mention about that is we get calls for the Anne Morison sampler almost daily in the shop. It's out of print. I missed it. Is there any chance you've got a copy? Is there any chance you'll do a reprint? So the answer is no. When we did our last print, we told people that it was going to be a limited edition sampler. And I really feel that I need to stick by those words. So so what we're doing is saying, we're very sorry that you missed out on this one, but we have this new one coming up, and hang tight, stay tuned, because we'll be releasing all the details shortly and you won't want to miss it.
Good.
So, Anne Morison. This month's section is the very, very Scottish line of letters with the curlicues on them.
Mhm.
See if I can get them on there. So these letters are done in cross stitch with the instruction that the curlicues are done in double running stitch. And we've been seeing a little bit of people on the Facebook group expressing a little bit of concern about the double running stitch, and it's maybe something they haven't tackled before and they want it to look really good. So Rose, you've put together some information for us on some ideas about tackling the double running stitch. So tell us what you've got.
Well, I did some examples on some linen. Actually, I did in the margin of something I was working on, and it's a 28 count, and I thought, perfect, grab some red floss and let's go at it. So I'm going to use a silly analogy, and bear with me because sometimes I find analogies work best. So your stitching is your mainstream road. You're going along and you want to take a side trip. So your double running becomes your side trip. You're going to go out, but you need to get back to the main road. And essentially that's what your double running is. You're going to go out and you're going to come back. And the way you execute it is you're going to go in and out. So you're going to start, there's your mainstream part of your letter. You're going to come up and you're going to come down and back up. Okay, so you're going to have one stitch and then one space. And I can't read backwards, but you're going to continue that. So you can see you have a stitch, space, stitch, space. Okay. And pardon me, let me look here. So your first half of your double running is done. Okay, so you have stitch, space, stitch, space, stitch. So you need to come back to your letter, the main part, and you need to fill in those spaces. Just a minute here. There we go. So you're going to complete the second half by going up and down, the opposite of going out, you're coming back. And I hope I'm describing this. It's sometimes, doing that again.
So while you're doing that, what I want to insert here is that you have sent me all of these photos, and
Correct.
I'm going to put them at the tail end of this video in a way that people can take screen captures so that they've got all the steps and they can save them to their device to refer to later.
Correct. And a couple things. Next week, I will post all of these pictures on the Facebook page. If for people that maybe didn't watch the video or want to have those pictures on one page. And the other thing, you have expressed, and I agree with you, and Nicola has lots, practice in the margin. Okay, what may look like that is daunting and you can't figure it out, once you actually put it linen thread to linen, you might have that aha moment where you go, oh, I get it. Sometimes it's really hard to tell you how to do it, but follow the pictures. And bottom line, and you said this here earlier, if you don't understand it and you don't get it, A, you can ask questions, or B, just do a backstitch.
Right.
Okay.
And the other thing that we can bring up here is that on our Facebook group, we do have a mentorship program. So we are coming up on between the double running in this month's section and then the Algerian eyelets in the next month's section, probably what is the most challenging section of the sampler. And so if you're finding that it's a little bit daunting, on our Facebook group, we do offer a mentorship program that you can sign up with and be matched with a stitcher that maybe has more experience with those stitchers and can help you work through it.
Correct. And I've got quite a few mentors, and I can always tell when something gets a little difficult. I'll get messages from one or two of them going, I don't understand this. And it's just a time of back and forth to talk to see if I can help them through something or send pictures. And it's not too late to sign up for the mentorship program, even if for just eyelets and or running stitch or just, you know, whatever. We're at all different levels of stitching, and it's okay to reach out to somebody that's maybe at a different level.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that helps the stitchers that have been asking. I hope those pictures do help and not confuse the situation more.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing, so the double running stitch, I come from my first and main sampler love is 17th century band samplers. So I have stitched a lot of double running bands in my time. And the way that I learned from people like Marguerite Hogue of the Sampler and classes and Amy is to do the laddered kind of double running, where as you make your stitches, they're kind of offset. It's almost like a stem stitch almost, because they're a little bit offset. Yeah. And they just repeat that pattern through. But lots of people don't find that that line is crisp enough and prefer to do it where it's more of a solid line without the little steps in it. So what do you think about that?
I guess double running stitch I haven't done as long as you have. And I do remember Amy's class that she had mentioned you can do it where you come on the left side, go down the right, or opposite, and keep consistent with that. Or you can pierce coming up and pierce going down. And if you decide to do that, sometimes it's easier to use a sharp needle. And I guess I'm a little bit, I klutz. I always poke myself. And so that didn't seem like a doable thing. And I was okay with the, like you said, it looks a little bit like a stem stitch coming up on the left and down on the right. So, but the purist will go for the piercing. I do have a couple of diagrams. So, and this again, I'm not sure if you'll post it. This is the one where you're alternating. So you're coming up on the left. You're going down on the right. And this one is where you pierce coming up and you pierce going down. Mm-hmm. So for some of you that are looking at this, you're going, okay, that would probably make a lot of difference, but I'll show you the two side by side. And there's not a lot of difference, especially when you are not putting your nose up to your sampler. Okay, so there are the two examples. Mm-hmm. So I don't make a big deal of it, I guess.
Right.
I tend to be the stem
So when
stitch.
we're talking about this, just to help clarify, we're talking about how you position your needle on your return trip from your double running stitch. Right. So we're talking about being to the side of the thread from your original trip or piercing the thread from your original trip when you're on your way back. And it just gives a slightly different effect.
Correct.
Yeah, and again,
Whether-
practice. Just practice until you feel comfortable, until you like what you see, and then apply it to your actual sampler. Remember that these schoolgirls were learning as they went, and quite often their samplers were their practice. So just keep that in mind. That's probably my primary love of samplers, is imagining the historical context when these girls were stitching these hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, they were in probably schoolroom situations with a teacher, or maybe they were doing things on their own at home, tutored by their mother. And actually, it kind of brings me a little bit of a story back when I was tutored by my mother on sewing type of thing. And she made me rip a zipper out 3 times. So it makes me wonder if these teachers or mothers told their daughters that they had to take it out and do it over again. I don't know. But you're right. Practice makes perfect. And if you're not sure, practice in the margin until you like what you see.
Yeah. Or in a bigger count of linen or Ada or whatever you have at hand that lets you see the detail of what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm just going to have a quick flip through my notes and make sure that we talked about, I forgot one thing, but we'll go back to it. Okay. So I think that takes care of our Anne Morison topic. Next month, we'll be back in April to talk about tackling those eyelet bands. And for those of you that are worried about it or that are working ahead, remember our Facebook group has had lots of discussion about this. Go back through the messages, look at the photographs, read about the pointers, and you'll do just fine. But there's lots of resources there. And so we'll be back to talk about that at that time.
Right.
But Rose, I forgot that I asked you to have something to show us this video, and it would have fit in better when we were talking about Blackbird, but let's do it now.
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah.
So this is a Blackbird design piece. It's the Garden Club series 1 to 12. And instead of stitching it on one piece of linen, I did it how Barb and Alma had done it originally on different colors of Weeks Dye Works. And I just finished sewing all the pieces together, and I actually just stretched it on Monday. So this is my semi-finish. Now I can't tell, is it in?
Almost all of it. You could push it up so that we can, oh yeah, awesome.
Oh,
right there. Yeah. Oh, it looks so great.
So yeah, I'm being a little bit anal about making sure all the sewn lines are straight and stuff. And when you're working with 12 blocks and 3 of them have 2 colors each, that's a lot of hand sewing seams. So to try to get things so straight and all that, it's like, okay, what would our framer do? Would she keep on playing around with it?
Oh, I'm not sure. You maybe you'll have to ask Edie and see.
I might.
Yeah.
I think I know what I might do if I'm not happy. And because it's on foam core board, I may in certain places just put it, like pull it a little bit, because it's laced on the back. I've taken all the pins out, so it's laced on the back. So I have some playability. If anybody has ever pinned and laced, my pins are not there, so I can put a pin in here and there. So
that's
yeah.
just gorgeous. What an accomplishment.
It is. And I know I've had people ask me about how to hand sew the pieces together. And this kind of ties into our double running stitch, because that's exactly how you're sewing them together, is a double running stitch.
Kind of talked about it in a ladder. Is that the other word that you use for that, or
No,
am I wrong about that?
What I'll do, and I'm going to use an example here. I don't know if I can. When you put your 2 pieces together and you would join it up where you have, you know, 2 stitched parts. You're going to take your thread and you're going to follow that line, and you're going to run, double running one way, and then your 2 pieces are together. You're going to just finish the other way and going back on it. This is how I've done it. You don't have to worry about, you know, constantly looking on the back side if you're piercing your linen at the right spot and that. I have thought of trying to do a video on how I do it, but there is a tutorial. There are tutorials out there on how to do it, different ways of doing it, but that's how I did it. I hand sewed it together. Some people have asked me why not machine sew it together, but I don't think you would get the accuracy. And
that is the linen, remind me, is Weeks Dye Works 30 or 32?
I did mine on 36 count.
On 36.
They did theirs on 32 count.
Okay.
The difference being on 32 count, they did with 2 threads of their hand dyed floss. And on 36 count, I did 1. So theirs is a little more saturated.
Okay.
And mine is a little more prim.
Okay. Well, because even that would have been the old base of the Weeks Dye Works linen that you used. We could sometimes call it standard, but it was like before they were using Swigart base for most of their linen. So that stuff's a little bit loosey-goosey to be sewing anyways. So you did an awesome job. You know,
I was a little concerned when I first started this and I knew about the loosey-goosey, and I did all the pieces in hand. I didn't put it in scroll frames, Q-snaps, nothing. I just did it in hand. It was my coffee and cross stitch in the morning. I did an hour. And I actually, the more I did, the more I liked it. And I didn't do all of the hand sewing at the end. I did it while I was going. I pieced it kind of like you do quilt blocks.
Right.
And actually it was not hard. It wasn't unstable at all.
Oh, good.
So
good. So what year was that? The Loose Feathers of 2017, would you say? Or was that before that?
It wasn't Loose Feathers. I don't think it was Loose Feathers.
Well, we'll link to it below if anybody wants to see more information or details. So
yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Rose.
Thank you.
And so while you were kind of demoing your little folding technique, I think I might have seen Ann Morison there. Can you show her to us, please?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I had pulled her out just in case. I mean, everybody is probably, well, most everybody is there. So come Monday when I come back from camping, I'm gonna pull her out and continue. I'm actually, just because I have lots of things to do, I haven't been tempted to pull her out and work ahead. There is something about, you know, 1,300 people watching you to make sure that you stick with what you're saying. So I've been good. Now, when it comes to October, I don't know. All bets are off. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we might have to wrap Ann Morison up so that we can start on Esther.
Oh, I forgot what her name is.
All right. Well, I think that takes care of everything that was on my list of notes. And I know you guys are trying to leave for camping yet tonight. So have a great weekend. We
will. I'm looking forward to it. And enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Doing all your shipping.
Well, it's really great just to have the shop to go to during these times and hang out with my team, and just everybody does their part and works together so well, and it's very nice to be able to do that. Yeah, at least you have that, and you don't have to really worry. You can self-isolate together, and yeah. So yeah, take time this weekend to, you know, enjoy and have a glass of wine. You can count on that. Yeah. All right, Rose. It was nice talking to you. It's good talking to you, Janice. Take care. Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. Bye-bye.